The opening sequences of the film feature several scenes of crowds. It transitions into a scene where Aron Ralston is attempting to gather everything he will need for the day. We can see that his Swiss Army knife is just out of reach in a cabinet, but because it is still dark outside and he is moving quickly across his apartment, causing him to go empty-handed. Aron gets in his car and speeds into the desert while listening to even louder music, telling his camera that he only wants darkness, music, and himself. He drives up to what appears to be a very modest campsite, but instead of setting up camp, he simply climbs inside his vehicle and lies down to sleep. Aron gets up in the morning and gets on his bike. You can tell this guy loves the outdoors and adventure because of how enthusiastic and full of energy he is. He does wheelies and jumps over obstacles as he travels across the desert. He stumbles a few times, but he just laughs it off and resumes riding. He has a camera mounted on the handlebars of his bicycle, and he frequently pauses to inform the audience on his goals and progress. Aron is essentially alone himself, save for 2 or 3 moments, thus the camera is virtually his justification for explaining what is occurring and or for speaking with someone while he is out. Aron makes the decision to bicycle to Bluejohn Canyon. He travels as quickly as he can, parks his bike, and then begins to climb. He decides to say hello after hearing 2 females go by while he is climbing for a while. Kristi and Megan are there, and they are obviously disoriented. Despite glancing at a map, they seem to be having trouble deciding where to go. They are greeted by Aron, who informs them that he can assist. When he asks where they want to go, they reply, "The dome." They begin to move, but Aron stops them and offers to show them a better area to climb if they are game. They find him to be a little odd but also sort of cute, so they stick with him. Then there is the teaser scene when Aron, Megan, and Kristi are climbing in a very small fissure and Aron assures them that everything will be okay before he suddenly lets go of the wall and falls into the extremely small gap. In spite of the frightening situation, he lands in a stunning blue lake or pond and sings to the girls to reassure them that he is safe. Kristi leaps first, followed by Megan, and they all have a fantastic time repeatedly leaping into the water and playing on a little boulder along the water's edge. Aron keeps a record of everything. He just wants to have a record of the places his wild life leads him. When Aron wonders whether he'll ever see them again, they respond that they're holding a party the next night and that he can find it by looking for a huge inflatable Scooby-Doo, which will be outside the party. They all eventually part ways. It is obvious that Kristi had a crush on Aron, which causes the females to make fun of one another. Aron starts to ascend on his own when he comes upon a very tiny canyon into which he climbs. He dives into the canyon after leaping over a branch. After a brief period of climbing through it, he comes upon a large drop-off with a boulder perched on top. The rock falls into the canyon with him as he plummets around 15 feet, and as a result of the manner he lands, his arm is impaled directly between the boulder and the canyon wall. Although there is a small amount of blood, it is obvious that his hand is not going to come out. Aron tries for a while to remove the rock from his arm, but it is just too heavy and deeply embedded. Aron attempts to raise it in a variety of ways but is unable. He attempts to kick it away, but it is immobile. He pulls on his arm firmly in an attempt to just tear it out, but it is completely ineffective. He yells for assistance at the top of his lungs, but as he does so, the camera emerges from the canyon and reveals how vast and open the desert is and how little the crack is. He is totally alone and lonely. He searches through everything in his backpack as he attempts to think of anything he could have with him to aid. He recalls receiving the multi-tool and flashlight for free. He accidentally drops the multi-tool into a little hole that is out of his reach, and to retrieve it, he uses a stick that he is holding with one foot. He pulls out his camera and starts to describe what occurred and how he arrived. He offers to let whomever discovers it retain the camcorder in exchange for trying to deliver the tape to his parents. The night arrives somewhere in here, and Aron tries to sleep but can't because he is shivering. Aron cracks jokes to the camera and to himself throughout the long and chilly night to keep himself amused. When morning arrives, he is running out of water very quickly and is unsure about what to do. Aron starts to try to build a pulley system with his climbing ropes to try to move the boulder off of him, but he speaks to himself about how he would need a lot of gear and that the climbing ropes are too elastic. He sits in his climbing gear to get some sleep, but his position is dire. The first time Aron remembers something he wished he had done differently was a few days earlier when he disregarded his mother's phone call. He hears her message, but he is busy getting dressed and chooses to disregard it. He rejects a call from his sister at some time earlier in the movie, and he feels horrible about it too. He ends the recording by pledging to always be with them. The anonymous blonde girl informs him that he would always be alone as he recalls a period when they were once in love and enjoyed some good moments together before breaking up at a sporting event. He considers how he didn't at all notify anyone where he was going as he studies a map. When Tuesday arrives, Aron's flashbacks start to resemble hallucinations. Every morning, a raven glides past and catches his attention. He begins to converse with it. He has a very intense dream or hallucination that a huge storm comes up and totally floods the canyon because he is really short on water. He escapes the boulder when it is lifted by the river and hurries to the home of his former lover, where she slams the door in his face. He cries and screams please at her as he awakens, but it was all only a dream. With the rock sitting on the tender skin of his arm, Aron realizes that all the chipping away he has been doing to the rock has simply been making it more stuck and that he is getting increasingly frantic. More hallucinations of his family members sitting on a couch in front of him in the canyon appear to him. He misses them all but acknowledges that he never truly let them into his life. He does a short comedy in which he poses as a guest on a talk program and answers questions. Aron utilizes the rubbery camelback straw, which is shaped like a tube, as a tourniquet. He ties off his arm and attempts to hack into his flesh with the multi-tool, but it is too dull from all the stone scraping to even do that. As soon as he learns that he must first shatter the bones, he wedges a rock between himself and the boulder and utilizes it to do so. This breaks the bones in both of his arms. Aron attempts to talk himself out of passing out despite the blood all around him. He stumbles back and is released after seeing the cutting for around 2 to 3 minutes. Even though he is wounded and severely dehydrated, he exits the canyon by slinging his arm. He must rappel down a cliff, but when he finally arrives at the bottom and sees water, he is overjoyed and drinks as much as he can. Even though the water is somewhat filthy, he continues to drink until he spots a family of 3 and screams out to them with all of his remaining power. He sips some of the clean water they quickly bring to him. Aron then enters and exits consciousness as another family arrives. After experiencing a gust of wind, he realizes that a helicopter has arrived to transport him to the hospital. The sequences alternate between the helicopter journey and Aron swimming in a crystal clear, picture-perfect pool with 1.5 arms until he surfaces to find his family seated on the same sofa as when he was having a hallucination in the canyon. The screen informs us that Aron Ralston's prophecy came true and that they had their first child, a son called Leo, in February 2010 when he was sitting on a couch with his wife Jessica. As the image fades to darkness, it is announced that Aron is currently a motivational speaker and that he is always climbing.